Hi, this is Meganadha. In this video, you're going to learn about Visual Studio Editor, which is from Microsoft. And let's see the agenda for today's lecture. Now, first we will discuss on why we need Visual Studio Editor, and we will see about what are the previous versions of Visual Studio, like when it started, and what are the major releases of previous versions of Visual Studio, all those things. And then we will see about how to install Visual Studio latest version, and we will also see simple C# program using Visual Studio. So we already learned simple structure of C# program in our first lecture, and in this we are going to use Visual Studio, and we will do the same C# program using Visual Studio. And then I will introduce about the topic that I'm going to discuss in the next lecture, and at the end you will have to take a quiz on these topics which we are going to discuss today. So let's get started and let's try to understand why we need Visual Studio. Okay, so Visual Studio is the editor which is used for Microsoft technologies, writing code for C#, a lot of other technologies, and let's see one by one. First, we have a lot of templates that are available in Visual Studio for console application, for class library, for web application, for MVC project. So a lot of templates we have. So we'll understand slowly one by one. So I'm going to open Visual Studio and show you what is the meaning of that templates which are available. And then we have something called IntelliSense. So you don't need to remember all the classes. So if you're using Notepad, you have to be very careful when you're typing the code that C# is case sensitive, and you don't need to remember all the methods when you use Visual Studio. Just when you put dot, it will suggest all those methods which do come up with the same within that class. So we will see that. And before going to further in this, let's see one by one. First, we'll discuss on what do I mean by lot of templates. So when we open Visual Studio, so this is Visual Studio, and I just opened Visual Studio 2015 Community Edition. I'm going to explain you how to install this Community Edition later. So if you click on File, New Project, and it will open a window where we can create a lot of different templates. See here, lot of templates are available, like Windows Forms application, WPF application, console application. You'll have a sample code also there, so which you can. So even if you select ASP.NET Web application, you can have all these templates. Okay. Now let's take, for example, I'm selecting console application and click on OK. So see here, you can see a small template which has all the namespaces which we normally use, and also it has created one simple class program for us and static void main, and here we can write. And what is the meaning of IntelliSense is the moment you write console.writeLine. See here, it is actually suggesting the complete method name, so you don't need to remember it. So the moment you type WRI, the IntelliSense will suggest you the possible names with this WRI. So see here, I'm removing this, I'm going to put dot. So the moment you put dot, it will show you all possible methods and properties which are there for this console class. So that is the meaning of IntelliSense. Okay, so now let's see what is the next one. So this is about the templates which are available, and IntelliSense, we discussed about it. It will suggest the possible names for us. And debugging the code, this is also a very important feature. So if you want to understand the flow of code, and you might need to put a breakpoint and debug the code to understand how the flow is going on. Okay, so you can put a breakpoint and you can debug the code using Visual Studio, and we will see that later. So for now, just keep this in mind, debugging the code. And next one is, there are a lot of code snippet shortcuts which are available, and you just type svm and type tab, it will generate the code for you. So that is called code snippet shortcuts. Let's see that in Visual Studio now. I'm going to open Visual Studio. Let's take, I don't have this and I want to type it now. I want to type it svm tab. See here, it has generated me static void main, and if I want to generate properties, prop tab, it will generate property code for you. So like this, there are so many shortcuts. For now, don't worry if you don't know about this property, what is property and all. So what I mean to say here is that Visual Studio will provide you a lot of code snippets which you can generate using your shortcuts. Okay, now let's go to the next one. And also, the best part of Visual Studio is when you type some code and when you face any errors. So that errors or compile time errors or warnings, Microsoft Visual Studio will suggest you that suggest you there itself. You need not even compile it. So let's take, for example, I'm going to type here now. Let's see this here. So now I'll remove this, and now I'm going to type here int age is int age. I'm going to write console.writeLine age. See here, I have not initialized the value for age and I'm trying to print it. So you can see a red line under that indicates that the variable, see here, use of unassigned local variable. So that's a compilation error and Visual Studio is suggesting it here itself. Let's take one more example. I have age is equal to 10, I have p, and I have distance. Now I'm using this age and I'm not using this distance. Although it will not break your code, it is suggesting you a green line there that indicates a warning. See here, the variable distance is declared but never used. So if it's not getting used, my Visual Studio is suggesting us to remove it. Okay. Also, you can notice here that system is in normal color, but whereas all these namespaces are in slightly grayed out color because we are not using that namespaces here. So that Visual Studio is suggesting that you're not using it, probably can we remove it. So like this, there are so many advantages of Visual Studio, and one of them is, like, in case if you have compile time errors or warnings, Visual Studio will suggest you the moment you type it, like how do you do it in Word document. That's what I mean by error information when you're writing the code. Okay, so let's see the next slide. And now let's go back and see the summary here. I'm going back to the list of Visual Studio. See here, a lot of templates for doing different projects like console application, class library, Windows application, and IntelliSense. It will suggest us with the possible methods which the class contains, and we can debug the code to understand how the flow happens and variable values, and refactoring and code extraction we'll see later when we learn about interfaces. Okay, and functions. That time we'll learn about it. For now, just keep in mind we can even do code extraction and refactoring using Visual Studio. And code snippets, a lot of shortcuts for writing code very quickly. We saw that SVM tab generated static void main and integrated development environment. So we can have multiple projects in the same solution explorer, and that is called integrated development environment. So we'll also understand that slowly down the line. And it supports multiple languages like C#, C++, VB. I'm going to show that to you now. See here, now I'm going to open Visual Studio, and when I'm going to create new project, file new project, I'm going to create file new project. And you can see here, I can create this project, a Windows project or web project or Android project. I can create it in Visual C#, or it is supporting Visual VB also. See here, I have Visual Basic, Windows applications, web applications, or cloud applications. That can be done using VB, or you can Visual F#, Visual C#. So all these types of projects I can create using Visual Studio. So that is the point which I have mentioned here, like it supports multiple languages. Okay, so, and also we saw this compile time errors as you type the code. So more or less like a word spell checker, and thanks to Visual Studio for that feature. Okay, so these are some of the features using which developers will get benefited by Visual Studio, and there are a lot more things because of which Visual Studio we can use. Okay, now let's go to the next one. So we learned all these steps, and let's go to the next topic. And here is the Visual Studio history of Visual Studio. So Visual Studio started way back 1995, almost 2 decades back, and that was like Visual Studio 4.0, and Visual Studio 97 was there, Visual Studio 6.0. The major release of Visual Studio is Visual Studio 2005. This is one of the biggest release of Visual Studio, and it was released in November 2005. Okay, after that we had 2008, 2010, 2012, 2013, and recently in July 2015, almost like 5 months back, Visual Studio latest version 2015 was released into the market. Okay, and the good thing about Visual Studio from 2013, Visual Studio is coming with a new edition called Visual Studio Community Edition. Okay, so all these versions have respectively, like let's take 2015, it's having community edition, it's having professional edition, it's having premium edition, it's having enterprise edition. So depending on the features it provides, every edition, every version of Visual Studio has different editions. Okay, so if you want to get full feature of Visual Studio 2015, we can go for enterprise versions or an above version. So community edition is a limited version which has a lot of features and which is sufficient for learning C# and other programming languages. Okay, and C# and ASP.NET. So this is a quick history about Visual Studio, and let's see Visual Studio logos history. See here, when Visual Studio started, Visual Studio it was like this before 2005, and Visual Studio 2005, previously it was .NET, then they made it to Visual Studio 2005, then they made it 2008 version, and this is from 2010 and Visual Studio 2010, and this is the latest logo for 2015. Okay, so this is about Visual Studio logo. Keep on changing it here. As of now, this is the logo. Okay, so now let's see the next one. Now we will see how to install Visual Studio. As I already mentioned here, Visual Studio comes up with different versions, different editions, like community edition, professional edition, premium edition, or enterprise edition. Like that, we have different editions for Visual Studio. And Visual Studio Community Edition is available for free from Microsoft, and it started from 2013. So the Visual Studio Community Edition, in November 2014, Microsoft released this Community Edition for Visual Studio 2013. And now see here, Visual Studio Community Edition has all the features of Express and more, and is still free for individual developers and open source projects, academic research, education, and small professional teams. So for all these purposes, we can use this Community Edition for free. So since I am using it for teaching, for this video I'm using Visual Studio Community Edition, and I will be using that 2015 Visual Studio Community Edition for all the upcoming videos of this course. Okay, so now let's see how to download it and how to install it. Okay, first one. So this link, obviously you cannot click it because you are seeing it through YouTube or any other medium. So I will mention this in the description of this video so that you can click on the link. Okay, so how I got this link, let me show you now. I'm going to open Google Chrome, and let me show you now. Okay, so I'm going to search for Visual Studio 2015 edition, Community Edition, Visual Studio 2015 Community Edition, and I'm searching for ISO. So it's always good to download it to your local system, and then, so there are two types of installers which will be normally available. One is web installer, and the other one is ISO installer, ISO. So the benefit of using ISO installer is you can download once, and if you want to install it in multiple systems, or if you want to uninstall any, if you face any issues with your OS and if you want to reinstall again, you don't need to download again this whatever 5 GB or 6 GB of file. But if you go for web installer, so it will download a small exe file, and then when you double click on that and install it, it will download it and then it will install it automatically. So next time when you want to install, if because of your operating system crash or some reason, so then you might have to download this again. You might have to download this 5 GB or 6 GB. So I always prefer to download ISO file and keep it for future installations. Okay. So for that reason, I'm actually searching for Visual Studio 2015 Community Edition. So let's search for this now. And I'm going to click on this link, the first one, and that is the link here which I'm showing you now. So this is the link which you are seeing in my presentation. And go down a little bit here, click on this Visual Studio 2015, and then select this ISO image and click on download. Okay, so I have already added other video in my channel, YouTube channel to install Visual Studio 2013 Community Edition. So that is also exactly same way how to do it is, if you are looking for Visual Studio 2013 Community Edition, go down a little bit and click on this Visual Studio 2013. The same thing here, click on ISO and click on download. This will download you Visual Studio 2013 ISO file. And if you are looking for 2015, click on this and go down a little bit and select this ISO file and click on download. Okay, so that will download ISO file. Now we need a software to unzip this ISO file. ISO is an image file. So to unzip that software, there is a software called 7-zip. So 7-zip is a software which can be used for extracting ISO image files. So you might have to download this and then install it. Okay, so what you can do is you can let me show you once now. I'm going to show you my YouTube channel. So here, if you click on playlists here, and you can see there is software installations to get started with ASP.NET. You can click on this, and then you can I have mentioned here Visual Studio Community Edition. So here in this video I have clearly explained you how to unzip ISO image file using 7-zip software and how to install this 2013. The same way you have to do it for 2015 as well. Only difference is you have to download 2015 ISO file from the previous link which I have shown. Okay, so with that, let's come back to this. Come back to our slides now. Okay, so first click on this link and download ISO file. See here, click on Visual Studio 2015, select ISO and click on download, and download 7-zip software which is used to unzip or extract ISO file and install Visual Studio 2015 Community Edition. So this is how we have to follow the steps to install. In case if you need any questions or clarifications, feel free to add a comment of in the section comment section. I'll respond to it. Okay, so now let's go to the next one. We are going to do the first C# program using Visual Studio 2015. So now let's see this. I'm going to open Visual Studio now, and for learning C# for the next almost like 10 videos, we'll be creating console application. See here, I'm going to create now. Let me close this file, close solution, and I'm going to create new project. File, new project, and I'm going to select Visual C# console application. Console application, and I can change the name here. So let's change it to Hello World. And see here, these are the most frequently used namespaces for projects, ASP.NET projects. So in case if we don't need them, we can delete them. Unnecessarily, we don't need to refer the namespaces which we don't require. So what we can do here, I'm going to type here console.writeLine, and I'm going to type here Hello World. And I'm going to add one more line, console.readLine, just to ensure that we can see our output. So now I'm going to run this code. See here, you can notice here that the moment I'm using a system namespace, this has been in black color, and others are actually grayed out, indicating that I'm not using those namespaces. So I can remove them if I don't want. See here, the moment I move the mouse there, so using directive is unnecessary. So show potential fixes. Let's see this now. Previously, we need to use some additional tools like ReSharper, etc. for suggestions like this. And thanks to Visual Studio 2015, Visual Studio also added this feature now. See here, and I'm going to click on here and remove unnecessary things. So it removed automatically the namespace which I'm not using. So this is my user-defined namespace, this is my user-defined class, and main method is a place where execution starts, and console.writeLine is where anything we type inside that will be printed on the screen, and console.readLine. The reason why we use console.readLine is if I don't have it, and if I run this code now, output will appear and disappear immediately. So in order to see that output, we need to have console.readLine, or you can press Ctrl F5. Okay, so now I'm going to put here console.readLine. So this will tell the output window that I need to enter something, so that our window will wait, and so that I can read. So we'll discuss on console.readLine. This is used to read some characters from the user. See here, I'm able to see my output here, Hello World, and cursor is blinking here, assuming that I'm going to enter some value which needs to be read by this console.read line. Although this functionally there is no use of this console.read line, just to see the output we need to add it. Okay, so we are seeing hello world. So system is a namespace, console is a class which is present in system namespace, writeLine is a method which is present in console class, and writeLine is used to display here. In the first video I repeated almost 3-4 times in the lecture 1, so I don't think I need to repeat here. Okay, so with that, let's come back to the slides now. Okay, so now that is all for this video. We learned about why we need Visual Studio, and we learned about what are the history of Visual Studio, and we learned about Community Edition, which came for free from Visual Studio 2013 Community Edition, and we also learned about how to install Visual Studio 2013 and 2015, and we learned that we need a software, 7-zip software, which is used to unzip ISO image file, and then we can install. You can refer Visual Studio 2013 video which I have added. In the next lecture, in lecture 5, we are going to learn about data types in C#. Okay, so now it's time for you to take the quiz, and most of you might be thinking, where do we have the link for taking quiz? So let me show you where you can take the link. So now if you go back to my channel, YouTube channel, when you click on, let's take for example, I'm going for this, and I'm going to click on this my previous lecture 3, and let me stop this. Now you can scroll down a little bit and you can click on the show more, and here is the link for taking the quiz. See here is the link for taking the quiz. Now all you need to do is right click, open this link and take the quiz. Okay, so this is a quiz for lecture 3, and similarly you'll have a quiz for lecture 4 as well. Okay, so if you have any suggestions, feel free to send a mail to me. This is my email ID, meganadha@gmail.com, and if you like the video, feel free to share it to your friends or anyone who is interested in learning C#. And do remember to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in the next lecture.